Okay, welcome back to video 2. So we're going to picking up again with this lab. Here's our objectives again. So some things we want to pay attention to when we talk about looking at bodies in here is one of the best resources when we talk about bodies is your own body. And you may be comfortable kind of poking around and prodding around in your own body and kind of figuring out where different things are. But I will at times ask you to partner up to examine another person's body. And you want to be mindful of the comfort level of your partner. They may not be as at ease as you are. So we use this phrase, do not palpate without permission. So palpate means to touch and feel. So if a doctor comes in and like feels your shoulder, feels your knee, or like this is where it hurts, they'll palpate it, they'll feel it to try to see if they can figure out what's going on. So don't palpate without permission. Make sure that you get consent from anybody that you're working with before you touch them. This isn't just COVID related. This is just kind of good medical practice, good bedside manner to make sure that they are okay with what you're doing. All right, so when we talk about anatomy, this is an anatomy physiology class. So anatomy is just basically the study of the structure and parts of the body, their shapes, and kind of where they're found and relative to other things. We use these two terms: gross anatomy, which means those things that are big enough to be seen with the naked eye. So here's the gross anatomy of the digestive system. So you can see the oral cavity, the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and so on. But we can also look at what we call microscopic anatomy, which are the things that are too small to be seen with the naked eye, and we need a microscope in order to see them. So here's some examples of microscopic anatomy in the digestive system, specifically looking in the stomach. So inside the stomach, there's all these different layers. You've got muscle layers, and other sorts of stuff, but then you've got these little ridges inside it, and then inside that ridge, the stomach lining, we have these things called gastric pits, and you can see the cells lining those gastric pits, these gastric glands, things called parietal cells and mucous neck cells, and then you can go inside further and you can figure out kind of what's happening at a chemical level. What are these cells doing, right? So that's the microscopic anatomy. So some things we also want to look at is this idea that why do we use the terms that we use to prevent, it's to prevent misunderstanding. It's directing us around the different parts of the body, helping us figure out what it is we're looking at, the position, direction, region, the structures, and so on. Because bodies are moving all the time, we use this phrase anatomical position to kind of give us a standardized body that we can then say things are relative to each other from this standardized position, right? So regardless of the actual position of the body, this is where things are found. It's kind of like on boats, there's port and starboard, regardless of whether you're facing one side of the boat or the other, port and starboard are kind of always the same relative spots. So activity number 1 refers to identifying anatomical position and standing in anatomical position. So go ahead and stand up so that you look similar to the person on our board here in terms of how your posture is. You're standing erect, your feet are parallel and facing forward, your arms are hanging at your sides with your palms facing forward and your thumbs pointed away from the body. So that's anatomical position. That's what we're looking for to get us begun on there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. You can pause it if you want to kind of practice standing in anatomical position. And then if you're working with a partner, you guys can have them compare, are you in anatomical position? What do you need to change? So stopping video number 2, getting ready for video number 3.